Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Henry. Last night I was watching that new, I think it's the Marvel movie, is it? Marvel? And Shang-Chi. And it was a fun movie, really entertaining. I enjoyed it. But there was one line in the movie that kind of popped up and it kind of went ping in my head. And it was so fascinating. Let me read it to you. I'm not sure where it was earlier on in the movie, and the line is, "That's not going to happen." Wen Wu says to Katie, "Names are sacred." Ruwen, "They connect us not only to ourselves, but to everyone who came before." And I realize it's just a line in the movie, but here's something interesting about Chinese names. Probably some of you guys, maybe a lot of you guys know, Chinese names are written or used backwards from traditional Western names. So for example, my name is Henry Wang, so my first name and then my given name, right? But in the Chinese culture, the given name is the first character, and then you can have commonly 3 characters after that. In recent years, there's some people have used 1 character, and I believe in Japanese culture they actually use 4 characters. Anyway, that aside. So what's interesting about how my Chinese name has come about, and I believe, if I'm correct, the generations before me, like all Asians before me. Sorry, my dogs are goofing off over here. So my Chinese name, my given name, is after my family name, right? So again, backwards. So my Chinese name is Wang Bingheng. To present it to others, I would say my family name first. In Western culture, it's the last name, but in Chinese culture, it's the first name, right? Because it's the family name. So Wang is the first character, and then Bing is the second character, and then Heng is the third and final character. Now, here's what's interesting, and this is what I was told by my father. So the way our names are given is the children that's your level. So in other words, for me, that's all my cousins, right? That makes sense, right? So let's say, for example, out of all my uncles and aunts, right, the first one to give birth to a child, the oldest person in the family, so in this case, and because of patriarchy, so it'd be like an uncle, so it'd be like the grandfather, right, would choose a character that he decides that is going to be common for the entire line of cousins, right? So he chose the word Bing. Man, I'm so bad. I'm probably like the worst Chinese because I don't actually know what it means. It has obviously something to do with, like, honor, or, like good behavior. So I don't know, whatever. So Bing, right? So all of my cousins all have that Bing, right? Like every one of us, right? So my my brother Wang Bingjiang, my sister Wang Binghui, my cousin Bing Tai, like everyone's middle name is Bing, B-I-N-G. And I should really look up what that means. Anyway, so and then what happens is, once he decides the middle character, he has to decide and the names aren't chosen by the parents. Unlike here, like if Laura and I were to have children, which we're not, but if we were to have children, it's like, oh, what about Elizabeth? That sounds cute, whatever, right? So nope, not our choice. It's actually the grandfather that names. So what he did, or just as a tradition, and apparently back in the day, the patriarch of the family, he would decide on a poem, right? Like a poem that would hold deep meaning to the family, to him probably, right? And then every child takes the first character in the poem, and then the second born would take the second character, the third born, and so on. So in other words, if you were to line up all my cousins, you would have a poem, right? And there's a lot of us. I think there's like, I don't know, 20 something of us, right? And you could actually piece together an entire poem based on our birthdays, right? So you get, like, start with the oldest one and so on down to the youngest one. So in fact, not only could you figure out based on the name what order you were born in because of the poem, and then you could also know which generation because of the Bing, right? And then the one before them, they all have the so my dad's middle name is the same as my uncle and my aunt's middle name. So I'm pretty sure this thing goes back a long way. So to put it in context, can you imagine, like, if this is the way the Western culture named their children. I'm going to use some common names here, and I'm going to use a poem and see if that works, right? I mean, it'd be really weird because I don't think it works well. I don't think it translates well in Western culture, but check this out. Okay, so let's say your last name is Smith, right? And then that generation of cousins, right? The first one is going to have a child. The grandfather, right? The oldest patriarch in the family would decide the middle name that is used for every single kid born after that in that tier, right? Every cousin who's going to have a kid. So let's use a good word. So let's say honor, okay? So in other words, the name would be Smith, honor, right? And then they have to choose a poem, or he would have to choose a poem. And I'm just going to use a random poem. I'm not good with choosing poems. So let's say, for example, to this grandfather, this particular poem held deep meaning. So he chose The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. The first line of The Raven is, "Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary." So you can imagine the first born to that generation of kids, last name would be Smith, or the family name is Smith, honor, and then his given name would be Once. And then the second child would be Smith, honor, upon. That'd be kind of neat, right? Because you could actually line up all of the kids and come up with a poem. I mean, obviously, hopefully you choose a poem of like significant meaning, not just like the latest rap song or the latest Taylor Swift song, right? You know, oh my God, that'd be hilarious, right? Like the song by Taylor Swift, Don't You? So the first line, or the first, I get a little bit of that song is, "Hey, I knew I run into you somewhere. It's been a while. I didn't mean to stare." So it would be Smith, honor, hey, Smith, honor, I, Smith, honor, knew. It's just hilarious. I mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? Because, you know, modern lyrics versus old school, old-timey poem, right? But I just thought that was super interesting, is that in that particular movie is your names are sacred. Not only does it bind us, it binds us to all that came before us. And it just so happens, like, I'm pretty sure in that movie they wouldn't have known that, but it's actually a cultural thing. Now, this particular way of naming is gone as far as I know. I don't actually, I don't have any kids, and I live in Canada. I've been westernized so much, I have no idea if that's a thing, and I really doubt it. But so this particular practice is lost, is lost among my generation, because my niece and nephews aren't named that way. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Thought I'd share with you. All right, see you guys in the next video.